I hopped in around in the 2017, early 2018, just because of the magical curiosity of said Knuckles meme at the time. I had just been pretty much socializing with just random people at that moment, and eventually I met somebody named Miss Dabby. And I was talking about an anime con that I went to and a rave that I attended to there, but also mentioned that like it's not easy for me to go to those sort of things because they're hard to get to. She then introduced me to one of the first American clubs in VR chat called Dance Dance VR. And there I met like a whole ton of people, and that ended up throwing up a lot of weekend dance party events in VR chat. And this was before the time there were video players. Everybody had to use like mic speaker, their microphones to play their music and etc. Or you had to listen on Twitch separately. And I just really, really enjoyed that scene. And then found Dirty Dancers afterwards, which was like kind of a split off of DDVR. I got heavily involved with that, and just as time went on, a couple more clubs came and went, and eventually Rizumu ended up starting. And I just been heavily involved with that club as staff for most of the time. Eventually, the keys just ended up falling in my lap one day. And at that point in time, the club wasn't doing too hot. And I pretty much took the reins on it and tried to unify the rave scene as small as it was back then to get everybody to work together because it was too small to let fall apart. And I manually tried to work with everyone to put the differences aside to work together to build it better. And eventually, after we we got some stability in the scene, we tried to figure out how to open it to the rest of the world instead of just our little bubble. Eventually, we ended up bridging the gap between Japan and the rest of the world, and just over the time of COVID, the scene exploded, which was really, really nice to see. The club always provided me like a lot of happiness in a place where I could feel safe, and having ownership of something where I could help people find the same thing I have meant a great deal to me. Because as someone who has been at the bottom of the barrel, I try to do whatever I can to make sure nobody else ends up there. And I'll do whatever possible to help them find a smile in their day somewhere. Somewhere where they could be feeling like they're home.
I think that speaks to the passion and the reasons why we all do it as well, you know? For me, it was finding these special experiences and kind of forgetting the pain and the trouble that I was going through in real life for just a little while, and what that meant to me, and wanting to provide that for others as well. Finding a good place, finding a safe space, you know, that being the most important thing. So this is kind of a question, a little mind thing is, you know, as the music scene, you know, how is the music scene active in it affected your own political and gender expression? For me, it's pointed to how many people come into VR chat and explore themselves in new ways. You know, in the beginning, I would say it was fairly trans-friendly. People were really beginning to see exploration and come into themselves, but, you know, as I love to make the joke, you know, after this many years in VR chat, I've seen more eggs cracked than a chicken farmer. And that's, you know, because VR has allowed us the ability to explore gender in different ways, and people who would never have considered it before also to explore that, you know? And for me, I come from a day when being trans meant one choice. It was going stealth. It was giving up your family, your friends, moving into some other life completely. And we have the ability to live differently now. So being stealth was always kind of the goal. It was never to be out and about. It was, you know, I'm going to get to a certain point and then nobody will know I'm trans and I can just live as anybody else in the world. And, I kind of gave that up years ago, knowing, being very forward about being trans in this space, because once you're known like that, it's kind of out there. But then I began to realize that early on in my transition, I had my icons and the people that I looked up to that were just, to me, like, how are they doing what they're doing right now? What are they? Where do they find their confidence and their strength and whatnot? I had those kind of icons, and I've noticed that I have been that to a lot of people and made them find their new passions, find themselves, and find their expression. I've been lucky to be that for others, and that's why I continue to keep it, so much more forward about who I am and, why I do this and why I provide the spaces that I do. How about you, Charlotte? How's it affected your looks on gender expression here?
Yeah, it's a heavy question.
It is.
But I started transitioning, or I realized I was trans just a few months before I found VR. And God, what a lucky time to realize, and the best time, I feel like, to realize. I remember getting in, and there was this one outfit that I wore that inspired me, and so I had someone create this outfit, and there was tons of fear about like transitioning in, I guess, the real world or in public, especially. I live at home in my childhood home right now, and I don't really have that many friends though that are in this area, and so I was very worried and scared about, like, how am I going to find my people? How am I going to find my community? Like, before VR. And then I found VR, and then I had this moment where I was like transitioning between friend circles, or one friend circle kind of knew me as a certain person, and I was like, all right, this is like time to fully grasp my new, or my newfound self. I wouldn't, maybe not new, but found self. And I feel like in the real world, there's this lot of like, there's these ideas of like, in accepting cultures, there's like these ideas of, we don't care who you are, just like what you do and stuff like that. And very much like this attitude of like, just you're just another human, and it's all about like your actions, which I agree upon with. But in this space, it wasn't just like, we don't care. It was, we do care who you are, and we're gonna celebrate who you are. And I thought that was like really where I struck gold and got very, very, very lucky to come out as myself, present myself, be my authentic self, and not just have that be automatically accepted, but celebrated. In the real world, there's a lot of friends that I'll consider like allies who don't go out of their way to, like correct like other people about my gender or other people about my name or anything like that, which is okay. Like, I understand, like, it can be awkward, but in this space, before I walk in the room, my friends have already let everyone know what my pronouns are, what my name is, and all this stuff, and make sure that like no one's gonna get it wrong. And so I don't know. There's allies, and then in VR chat there's active allies. I got lucky. I got really, really lucky.
Where's Allie? I've seen all the different cultures and the people you've seen. How's it affected your outlook on gender expression growing into yourself?
It's been a wild discovery coming into an environment and in a community where I didn't even know this existed, while having questions my entire life about it. And just one day, being at a club, randomly breaking down, and having somebody that was trans approach me and ask me a bunch of questions, like they somehow knew exactly what was going on in my head and why I was crying. It's literally like the first eye-opening experience I had. I'm like, this is a thing? All these questions and answers I gave you literally have been this the entire time? And once I accepted that, I was relieved and then excited, because, like Simon said, people really do not only accept you, but celebrate who you are and your realization of who you are. And it's been an entirely safe space for me to actually understand myself a lot more and learn more about myself and develop myself at the same time. Granted, nothing was easy. I am only about, like, give or take a little over a year and a half into my transition, but since that day, back in 2018, 2019, I've been working on my voice. In just public worlds alone, no lessons, no nothing. Using the harsh realities of those environments as motivation to better myself. But, whenever I needed more support or any kind of encouragement, I could always go back to the rave scene where I felt safe. With people that understood me and people who were there to support me, like Rue and a really good friend of mine, Space Fauna. I honestly wouldn't have been able to do a lot of stuff without their nudges and support. And just going confidently, developing who I am along with the scene that I care for very much. And forgive me, because I've been in such a very, very, very big mental space of denial. I'm here standing here right now after all this stuff that's went on in disbelief that it's even happened, or I'm here, or any of this.
You're valid.
I know this scene so much for all of it. And then, because of what I've been seeing on social media and other environments in this game, I decided to come out publicly in June with my mom right next to me. Because I started to, I got sick of all the people that were in so much pain and just like in positions they couldn't feel like they could do anything. And I wanted to be there for them and let them know anything is possible. Anything is possible. You put in enough hard work, dedication to yourself, you can make anything you want happen. You could tear down any walls and get to where you want to be. And one day stand in a position like I am and actually see you did it.
Dang, Alec. You got mama good, honey. Yeah.
All of us are here for each other. All of us. We push each other higher, past any other odds that we've probably seen in our lives down, in the past. But together we've been jumping hurdles, pushing each other, acting like a family, supporting each other when it's needed. And there aren't any other communities like this. Whether it be Trans Academy, the rave scene, or other communities we don't know about in VR chat yet. We are so lucky to have all this.
Well, I so well said, honey. Good night. I feel myself to be very fortunate for all the wonderful things I've been part of. The fact that I can work with others to provide great spaces and great places. We do all work together, all of our communities. Oh, goodness. Wow. So, the next question we had was, how has your gender identity affected your experience in this scene? to be honest, it's really. I'm gonna put this. I didn't find any trouble, but I found a lot more support. Like you said, people in this scene encourage each other. And I don't think we would find that in real life at all. It would be a completely different thing, whether, you know, you find support not just in your transition, but in your expression, your creation, your creativeness. People very much, it reminds me of a very, very small art communities and whatnot that are very fiercely supportive of each other and the work that the individuals in it are doing. But that also lends itself to the funny fact that it's birds of a feather flock together, certainly. But if you look at the rave scene and the music scene, you'll notice a very high prevalence of trans individuals, male and female, and especially as compared to the what would be out in a club in Baltimore or Chicago or somewhere else. And that comes from the fact that we can feel safer here. This, for me personally, I am still massively socially anxious. You know, all three of us are taking, our anxiety peas just before we walk up here. And being up in front of a ton of people is like an absolute no-no for me. I would not be able to do this, save the masquerade of VR, because I can, isolate and compartmentalize just enough to be able to get up in front of people and do what I do. Because I'm always nervous doing it every single time, just like Silent said before we walked up. I know once I get into it, once I get going, a ton of people are going to have a better day because of it. They're going to maybe even have something special they're going to remember for years to come, or inspire them to say, wait, is it really that easy? Can I start my journey now? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, there's no reason not to start tomorrow. Because that's how it started with me. I'm not anybody special. I'm a nurse from Ohio. And that's all I've ever maintained I ever am. But when I found myself, I found the ability to find other things and skills to enhance my life and find the one thing I have been looking for my entire life, and that's fulfillment. I can't describe to you what that feeling is like, except to try and help you and lead you towards it. How about you, Miss Silent? How has your gender identity affected your experience in the scene?
I feel like I have such a non-answer to this, which is like,
no,
it hasn't affected it. I don't know, that kind of pure automatic acceptance has made it be such a seamless process to be integrated into the scene. My gender isn't a question, it's I don't know, it's seamlessly my gender identity has been a seamless integration into the experience. I think maybe the one thing I could speak on that is being, identifying with myself who my authentic self is, and experiencing that authentic self in the scene has also only made things easier, because as I express my authentic self, the people that enjoy that gravitate towards it. The people that don't like that kind of stay away. And so there's this kind of superpower where it's like, if you want to attract the people, that will like you for who you are, if you express who you are fully and authentically, the only obvious answer is you will attract the people that will like that, and repel the people that don't like that, and that's kind of nice too. Being my authentic self kind of keeps the people that I don't very much care for, and who don't care for me, it keeps them at bay. But equally so, and more powerfully so, is the attraction of the people that like me for who I am. instead of putting up a facade and then people liking the facade that I put up.
Yeah.
So I think like my gender identity or embracing a gender identity has only helped with this experience. Definitely.
You will make
I
a
guess
cry, Miss Allie.
You know me, I don't
Go
say
ahead.
anything unless I absolutely mean to say it. I don't hold any punches.
Yeah, it's straight from the heart, honey. Thank you.
I definitely will say that I've shared the same experience as Silent in that regard. I didn't have the most cheerful past before VR chat. I didn't really have too many like in-person friends, anybody to talk about this sort of stuff. I never really felt like I had an outlet to actually behave or act the way I would like to, where the full extent of my personality would always show. I guess if I had to describe everything before VR chat the rave scene has definitely been me as a brick wall with no emotion. And then when I found VR chat and I found myself and realized it was okay to be who I was and express myself who I was in that community alongside people who were also going through the same thing as me at the same time. It just made being a person just that much more amazing. Like, I felt like for the first time ever in all my years alive, I started to actually exist and treasured the life that I found that was just hiding somewhere. And I didn't know it was there. Finding that light at the end of the tunnel has just been such a revolutionizing experience for myself, and now it's just getting better, and to be able to share that with a lot of people that also genuinely feel the same way and appreciate these things just makes the experience even more worthwhile and magical. There's been communities that I've met in VR and then actually had an IRL meetup experience with. I'm not personally too confident in my appearance to walk around outside. But when I went to that meetup, the entirety of that time I spent it in my intended appearance. And for the first time ever, outside of VR, it just hit in a different level where it's like, I look the way I want to, and everybody's treating me like I am still the same person I was in VR, and not even batting an eye and appreciating me and hugging me and doing all the stuff that I wasn't quite expecting because, you know, being self-conscious, all that stuff. And I don't regret any of this. The only thing I regret is waiting to do it. Just take that first step. And then if it weren't for the friends I found, I probably never would have taken those first steps. It's just, it pays to listen to your heart. It pays to listen to those nagging thoughts in the back of your head about certain things. It's worth looking into. Because it could help you find the keys to open that door you never even knew you had the keys to the entire time. And it could ultimately lead you down a path to a very, very lucrative and prosperous life as an individual. Just be you, be genuine. You don't have to fake a thing for anyone. Be proud of who you are and represent it. And be a beacon for others that walk the same path.
That's pretty so inspirational, hon. Thank you. Y'all have had some of the best answers to this. I really think touch on a lot of core fundamentals of finding our experience in here, rewarding and encouraging. So let's flip it around to how do they do what we do on an individual level? So for let's start with Allie on this one. Like, Allie, how would an aspiring club owner or person who's putting together events, how do they get into it? How do you think they would start? Based on your experience, what would be the first couple steps?
Getting involved in the scene isn't as hard as you probably think it would be. A lot of it could be in your head sometimes. You end up putting up a lot of those walls before you even take those steps to get to where you want to go. Best bet, get involved with some of the communities, very casual like. Experience what they're like, get to network, know the people, create genuine friendships, and, a nice presence to be around. Maybe if you find a club that you like a lot, maybe start talking to the staff on, in regards to seeing how you can help out more than just attending. And pretty much just get more involved with the club you like and learn everything there is to know. Because, like a lot of these clubs are basically, they want to see the scene grow. They want to help other people make it better, make it bigger. And with the, growth rate of all the DJs these days, we're going to need a lot more clubs to book everyone at this point. So learning the process from the inside of your favorite club would definitely be the best bet. And then figuring out how to organize your own Discord. And, during that whole process of working for another club, you'll get to meet a lot of the DJs and network with them and make friends and stuff like that. It's very, very super casual, albeit it could be very challenging in the social aspect of things. Because you're going to have to take very big steps out of your comfort zone depending on, the level of difficulty regarding that. Because, I can tell you, I'm very withdrawn. A lot of people don't even know I'm in the club most of the time. I hide. But I couldn't stay like that if I wanted to make it any better. She has seen me grow this entire time. She definitely knows. But, yeah, eventually you could definitely find some very passionate people, structure a Discord, grab some of your favorite DJs, that you have really good relationship with, and then, try to figure out how to set up times and finding a venue and stuff like that. Even if it isn't something you commission right away, you could probably find a public world that you could use as a stand-in club for the time being. Try to establish a presence in the scene. There's somebody called Captain Duck out there that likes, making sure a lot of events get seen in a public circle. So that would definitely help you out a bit. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath.
You're good. Wow, I mean, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah.
My take is way more of a grassroots approach. I always say that the DJ pop-up is one of the easiest events to organize in VR chat. You just need a world with a video player. That's pretty much it, and the ability to the knowledge and the ability to stream content into VR chat, whether that be through Twitch or through a tool that most of the club community and some other people in VR chat know called VRCDN. It does take a little bit of technical knowledge in order to understand how to deliver content into VR chat through like a VRCDN, like how do you do audio routing within your own system and stuff like that. But you don't even have to start there if you're that's the DJ route if you want to go to the DJ. But if you are an aspiring event coordinator, it could be as easy as hitting up a few of your one or two even of your DJ friends and saying, hey, can we throw a party? And then you find a world. There has to be several dozen open VR chat club worlds, but it doesn't have to be a club world. It could just be an apartment world with a video player. It could be a great pug. You could hot mic it. You could play just music through your microphone. But running events virtually, they're going to be an easier way to run events. In the real world, you might need, the access to a venue, access to certain tools and equipment. But here, you really, really don't need that. It could, each one of you can throw a party in 5 minutes. I do believe that. Yeah.
I believe that.
You learn from there.
So what about if, in your experience, how would somebody, if they see what you do as a VJ, how would you recommend and where would you point them to start out if they wanted to do the same kind of thing, just playing with visuals?
Yeah, I would start with by like if you're on Twitter, following a bunch of the VJs in the scene. There are some tutorials out there. I think there's someone named by the name of Neckles, Nekles, who put out a tutorial on how to do visuals for a DJ. So that's like pulling in a DJ stream, combining your visuals with it, and then streaming that as a complete package to a VRChat world. The one the one thing about VRChat and like the creators here is if you're not a creator, everyone will encourage you to become one. So if you hang out around people and you just one of the most dangerous things you could say is maybe I would like to try that, because then everyone will jump on you and say yes, do it, and they will keep on throwing materials at you and point you into directions, and really you have to talk to this person. If you want to like do this, talk to this person, stuff like that. The peer pressure to be a creator in this scene is very, very, very real, and so I feel like one of the easiest ways to become a creator is to hang out with other creators, because they're just going to encourage you to do the same and help you as well.
110%. 110%. I'm definitely prime among them. Trying to light fires underneath people to find something new. Definitely.
Yeah.
People are very encouraging in here. Very encouraging in here. So I'll tackle what if you want to be DJ? What do you do? Well, honestly, like Silent was saying, getting into the scene and talking to the people, finding the DJs who play music you kind of vibe to, looking for mentors in that scene. I've helped a lot of people myself, is really get a fundamental basic, because it's, I always relate it to people. It's like any new skill. It's like learning Tetris. I can show you the fundamentals inside of an hour, but your growth and your skills development from there is going to be a lifelong process. That you take at your own pacing. You know what I mean? Your journey is never comparable to where somebody else started theirs. But for me, I always point people towards the Crossfader channel on YouTube to get a very base description of what they're looking at, how music works together and can be, brought together by using software only. There's no need for big equipment and stuff like that to start with. I knew a DJ that literally only software mixed over for Wave XR years ago when we were over there. Until such time she finally had some equipment that she had in her home. You don't need big fancy things. All you need is the free software and the drive to want to just make something different of, two things. Bring all these, create a experience for people. If you want to, you have this thought in your mind. It doesn't always have to be EDM. In the music scene on the American side, for sure, we kind of get more focused on EDM and dance music a lot of times. But, what I've learned from experience in, the JP communities and other things, where it's a wider selection of music, and what I try to provide myself in my own venue is something with no genre restrictions to just EDM, but it could be anything. Where people, do you have that experience in your mind where you have this folk music, you want to string together in something special? You've just built a set. You've built a playlist. How many of you have been building playlists and Spotify playlists? Guess what? You've taken the first step to being a DJ right there. That's what it is. It's building playlists and create. That's how it starts, and then you move into doing that a little more dynamically, where you go. So I know I have all these tracks. What can I do to make this a wonderful journey from this end to this end? Or how can I get people moving their butts and having fun? It's very addicting, because not for the attention, for sure, because Lord, I'd rather just sit in a box somewhere where nobody can see me and just do this. That'd be fine too. But really, I'd like to still be able to see everybody, because when you see what you're doing is inspiring others to move and have a good time, and when they come running up to the front, having that moment going, oh my god, that's my track, that absolute fan moment where somebody just loses themselves for a minute is very powerful and very addicting, especially when all you're looking to do is make somebody else's day a little bit better. So I say, start by looking for your mentor, looking for the people who inspire you, and talking with them. Seeing what advice they have and how they can help you kind of get, find your path to doing it. Maybe one last little half question. Silent, so having real life experience now, and having been able to parlay what you've learned in here into something in real life, how do you find the differences between doing events in here and doing events in real life?
Inside VR chat is much more complicated than doing it in real life. Real life is so much easier. It's
Really?
funny. Yeah. A lot of people, when I do real life stuff and I talk about where I come from and what I've been doing in VR, a lot of them are like, "Oh, this must be like a big step up for you then." And I'm like, not really. It kind of feels like a little bit of a step down because like it does not require as much brain power. In VR, like you have to contemplate and deal with being in two places at the same time, which is a very, very bizarre human experience. And then on top of that, you have to DJ through your like nose hole, or like if I'm VJing, then I'm like pulling in the DJ from like from a stream, and I'm like I'm the front of house, I'm the IT person, I'm the sound person, I'm like doing all these freaking jobs and holding all these thoughts in my head and using multiple computers. But then in real life, it's just there. It's you usually have a team of people, and so I'm not fulfilling all these roles. There's a sound person, there's an IT person, and then, I'm maybe just doing visuals. I don't have to worry about pulling the stream of the DJ, or if I'm DJing, I don't have to worry about like, is my internet gonna fail? And I'm like, oh, I'm stepping on my cable. And you just do it. You just do it. And so I hope that's one thing that people realize, that is the technical differences are I guess not the technical, the conceptual differences, there is none. You're doing the same task. In VR, you have a little bit more control over your surroundings. You could decide, like, be like, oh, all the voices of everyone are way too distracted, I could turn you down. In real life, you can't do that. But both are very, very, very similar. Both carry the similar weights. I sometimes still prefer VR because it's nice to, when I'm done and I want to go home, I am home. That's like very awesome. And also I will say the difference is people appreciate the experience more in VR. I find that the quality of people in VR is so much higher than the quality of like the random person I might see like in a club. For whatever reason, I think people, like, maybe it's because they're embracing their authentic selves. They're not putting on a facade. They're not hiding away certain parts of their personality. Everyone is just being themselves. And so, I'd rather, when someone says good set, or like someone, enjoys something, or like you said, if runs up to the decks and is like, this is my song, they're not hamming it up. They're being genuine. In the real world, some people will ham it up because they think they're like, oh, I should buddy up with this person. Of course that happens in this space as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's the conceptually, they're the same. They're both equally enjoyable. They both have their pros and cons. But
yeah.
I think the one thing that surprised me, and I kind of knew it was going to happen, I kind of always knew in the back of my mind that it would translate. That was like the kind of the big fear, was like, what are the skills that I learn here, do they translate to the real world? And they do, like, just one-to-one directly translate, like the skills that you learn here. I mean, like, this is, there's the delineation between here and there. This is reality, and you learn things here in this reality, even if it's virtual.
That's wild. Really some good points there. From my limited experience in the real world as well. Like you said, a lot of teams are there to make sure everything runs smoothly. There's, nothing, no really worries, but my experience in here has been when doing personal events, you wear a lot of hats. They stack them really high. Them really high. But, I found the same kind of professionalism and teamwork and just absolute clockwork running of everything with the Trans Academy since I've had the ability to work with them. It's absolutely unbelievable how much people are organized like that, and that really shows how bringing a community of the right people together, that they can work together and make things run. Because I was so impressed with the Pride event because, and you guys can back this up in the music scene, the Trans Academy built a fully Quest compatible rave world in under 4 weeks and shot that out the door. That's and really had an entire huge festival planned, and everything ran smoothly. Right down to the wire. Everything was kicked out, and like I said, in less than 4 weeks, and that's unthinkable in the music scene. Like, just absolutely unthinkable. I just marveled at how well things were done. And this is from people who had never done it before, and just had myself and a couple others to advise a little bit here and there on what to do and how to do it. It's that's why I say you find your community or make a split one that you want to work together on something with, because as you see, from small to large, when you get people who are really dedicated and motivated to it, it takes a lot of the effort out of it as well.
Sky's the limit at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're running about 10 minutes short, so...
Questions? We can take questions.
I was just about to suggest. Yeah, any questions from the audience? Anyone? If you have something, you can walk up to the front here, or kind of wave your arm. If you're too far back, calling might get you, but we'd love to hear from any of you. Feel free to ask anything.
Do you
Hey, Face.
do you remember the first music event you ever went to? And was it special or anything about it?
I do. The first music event I went to was a VCAT after party. I remember seeing Fia Bunny, the streamer, post on Twitter, like, there's a DJ's playing an after party for this convention, and I was like, what? DJs in VR? I gotta check this out. And that's when I met one of the most peer pressure-y people in this game, Miss Stabby. Is the reason why a lot of people do a lot of things in this space, surprisingly. Like, the more, like, she just is really good at pushing your buttons and being like, you should do this, you should do that, and just keeps on pushing people to be extraordinary.
Exactly.
But that was 2020. I think it was either May or June, and yeah, hooked instantly hooked. That was my first event.
Yeah. How about you, Allie? What was your first one?
Oh my god, it was definitely...
Who was playing?
Well, out of the wide variety of only 2 DJs, it was DJ Dark Fade at DDVR, playing through a giant speaker avatar through his microphone.
Really? Wow, that's cool.
Yes. There was only DJ Dark Fade for Dance Dance Revolution and DJ Lumi for Dirty Dancers. Those are the only 2.
Now we have
Great
hundreds.
Mhm.
Hundreds.
Like, your first event, Rue, is not in VR chat, correct?
No, my first event was not VR chat. It was, as described earlier, in Wave VR. I popped into a Sporgman show. Sporg was a really talented artist. We used to use tilt brush and open brush to design a lot of our stages because they were auto-reactive, and upload them to construct our stages scene by scene by scene. And the first time I walked into his, I saw some of the most unbelievable artwork I had ever seen. Just absolutely tremendous amount of work building forced perspective pieces with hundreds of tiny little strokes to form a gigantic other image meant to be viewed from a distance. And it blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. I was like, this... What is this? This is surreal. This is not like reality. It's not like I'm trying to be in some game or something. I'm somewhere else. I'm on this journey. And coupled with the trance music that he played, I had one of the most transformative experiences that I had ever had. And I was like, I want to do this. Every single time that there's a show playing, I'm going to be in here and we're going to be doing this. Because this is what I want to be around. This is so amazing, so creative. Like, because I've always enjoyed seeing what other people create and put onto display, and that's why I encourage it in others. You know what I mean? That blew my brain to the back of my skull, and just I was hooked from there on out, and seeing that kind of stuff. Yes. Let's see what we can do. What we got. Go ahead, Princess.
I have two. One, have you ever been to any furry ones? And
I have. Yep.
the other is, have you ever met Johnny?
Just Johnny? Is the name just Johnny?
TMF Johnny.
Oh.
Oh,
of
yes.
course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a character. There's a character right there. Yeah, it's funny how you just kind of run into and meet creatives and other people who are performers, within the scene. I had an
I learned that he
opportunity to meet
started
them.
becoming a performer recently.
Yeah. Everybody take their own path to it. Sometimes long, sometimes short.
As far as furry events, I know that it does seem there to be like a little bit of a divide between the furry community and the rest of the music community. I don't know why. I don't think it's like any bad blood or anything. I think it's just where people decide to hang out with. But I don't find myself at the furry parties, but I know that they go really, really, really hard. And there's one that continually has like something like multiple instances for their events, like a time and time again, where they have 300 to 400 people show up. I wish I could remember the name of this event, but I know that
Virality.
almost running. No, it wasn't Virality. It's an event that runs monthly, I believe. Or like a regular running event.
Vibe night.
Like Shelter, but it's within just this furry community of what I know. But yeah, I mean, furries and technology and like doing fucking rad events go very, very hand in hand.
Right.
Yeah.
The running joke used to be if somebody nuked Anthrocon, half of the United States IT departments would be wiped out in one hit. I mean, that's no lie. But yeah, it's true though! I'm telling you, I found this. You gotta see it. Furries, they're all in the IT, and they also are all into event and music production. They have the best sound systems, I'm telling you what. I have been...
Uncle Kage is really important. Very important.
Yeah.
He's made a few...
Yeah, there's been early on in the VR chat scene, especially in the rave scene, there was furries were another marginalized community that I think identify a lot with the trans experience as well, as far as marginalization. And early on in that scene, that there was a schism between what would be human and other humanoid avatars and furry avatars having their own dance scene. That early schism, spawned many of the communities on the furry side, like Tailbase and some of the others over the years, and continue to spawn their own. It's not that they're isolationary now, because honestly, I think Muzz helped bring a lot of that. When he did his tour in here in VR chat, he had several dates that he did straight up in a furry avatar, because he was like, I want to see everybody at my events. I'm not letting anybody be kept out for anything. And he's like, I'm DJing in furry avatar, period. And it started to bring a lot of those communities together. But that was at the Razumu one, in fact. And you started to see more furries at other events and vice versa, where the community started to begin to begin to integrate a lot more. And you'll see that a lot more now. There's still mostly furry clubs, but that's because, again, just like this right here, when you're part of a marginalized community and you find people that you can identify with and have a shared experience without them necessarily explain all of the baggage that goes along with that to somebody before having an interaction with them, you tend to gravitate there sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I've even spoke to a few people that were just only involved with furry communities and stuff like that, and they just popped up and they're like, "This is so strange. I've been dancing here for about an hour and nobody's bothered me. They're actually dancing with me. What?" It was just a welcoming and different experience for them. It's like, I enjoy being here. This is so strange.
Absolutely.